What's up, guys? It's currently 1:30. We're playing against Poland today, and I'm again super busy with preparation. There's not lots of time left. I have to go to lunch now. Prep is almost done, so it's gonna be a really tough match. They have, of course, Duda on board one, Wojtaszek, so they have very, very strong players. Gonna be a super tough match. Wish me all the best, and I will see you after the game. Since there was almost no time after the match to record immediate reaction, since we had the Bermuda Party and also team dinner, I can only record it now. But the match finished in 2-2, all games were drawn, which was a bit unlucky for us since we were winning on both board 3 and on board 4 on my board. But on the other hand, board 1, we were in quite some big trouble. So overall, a score of 2-2 against a very strong team of Poland is a good result, and I will tell you more about the match later in the video. By the way, while editing the video, I just realized that I didn't even explain like what is the Bermuda Party in general. So the Bermuda Party during the Chess Olympiad is a tradition which has been going on, I think, for many years already. And the theory which I've read is that the first Bermuda Party was organized by people from the country of Bermuda, and therefore it's named the Bermuda Party. And it's always before the free day. So today, while I'm recording this, there is no game, and it's just a day for the players to just rest and yeah, not have a game in such a long tournament with 11 rounds. It's nice to have one day off. So just some background information for you. But yeah, overall, as I said, it was a really nice experience. I stayed sober for the whole night, which I think I was the exception there. But yeah, people should have some fun there. Yeah, like the tournament is super tough, so it's also nice to just clear your mind and focus on other things for one night. So obviously, super cool experience. It only happens every 2 years, and you just meet so many friends which you haven't seen for such a long time. So Bermuda Party, one of the highlights of the Olympiad for many people here, and I hope you enjoyed the footage. As I've already mentioned, we had the team dinner, which was very nice. The Austrian chess president invited us to a very nice restaurant. Here you see some footage. The food was really, really good. So it was just a very nice gesture that the team comes together, not only in the hotel, but also in a very nice restaurant, just to go out and eat somewhere else. And from there, we directly walked to the Bermuda Party through the Budapest city, here over a bridge. And just to show you, this was like the entry ticket for the Bermuda Party. Which you just had to wear on the wrist to get in. And here now I recorded a couple of shots from the Bermuda Party. What I really liked there was when you entered, there was like a big space outside, which you've just seen. If you can, there you can just get some air outside. And inside now, this was like the main room where there was also a bar. And there were, I think, 2 floors with music where you could dance. It was not really, it's never really my thing to go like clubbing. Here you see my friend having a good time. The music was good overall, but I just don't really like personally this very loud music. But other than that, I really enjoyed the Bermuda Party, and it's just nice to see some friends which you haven't seen in many cases for 2 years, so it was a great experience. Hi everybody, to the recap of our match against Poland, and I drew my game against Szymon Gumolas. I also wanted to just mention that the Bermuda Party was yesterday, so I will definitely I'll definitely edit some clips from there. I still don't know yet if it will be before you see this in the video or if I make a separate video. So we'll see about that. But about the match, it ended 2-2 and it was a bit unfortunate. We were lucky on board 1 because Valentin Dragnev was lost against Jan Krzysztof Duda. But on board 3 and 4, we were both winning, also in my game. But yeah, let's have a look, and I will tell you more about the match a bit later once we have a look at the game. So I played Szymon Gumolas, who I know pretty well because we played also in the German Bundesliga together in the same team, and he's only 1 year older than me, so we've been playing some youth events for quite some time. I went for d4, he played knight f6, c4, and he surprised me a bit by going to the Queen's Indian defense, but I still had some preparation from other tournaments and also from this event, which I still remembered. I mostly prepared for d5, by the way, but he went for the Queen's Indian, g3, now bishop b7. Bishop a6 is the other move, when white has a lot of possibilities, queen c2, knight bd2, b3. But he went for the classical approach with bishop b7, now bishop g2 and bishop b4 check, which again is a little bit of a sideline. Bishop b6, bishop b7 being the main move. and then castle castle, where white has all sorts of moves, knight c3 being the main move, rook e1, kind of like the modern idea. Also things like h4 nowadays have been in discussion, so white has some ideas here. He went bishop e4 check, now bishop d2, and now he went a5. c5 is another option when black would allow to double his pawns here, but he has some control over the dark squares now, so this is also a system for black which he could play. He went for a5, simply protecting the bishop, now castle, castle, and now I went for bishop g5. If I would go a3, then after takes takes, this inclusion of a5, a3, I think favors black, because in some cases he can play a4 and then he fixes my pawn structure on the queen side, which I don't necessarily want to happen. So I went bishop g5, and now I actually have this nice threat. I think, for example, after h6, I could take and then go c5. This is one nice idea, which often works, because if bc, now a3 traps the bishop, and otherwise a5 will probably run into some other issues like a3, bishop a5, and now, for example, I guess I can take this pawn on a4. So this is one nice trick to watch out for. So he went bishop e7 back to not allow this idea with c5, and now queen c2, which he told me actually at the Bermuda Party. This was a move that he prepared against as well, and I will tell you something about the details here, because there are some interesting things. He went bishop e4, just hitting the queen. He could go h6. I actually had a game with black here a few years ago, but after takes takes, now knight c3, and white is very easy play. Rook 81 will come, e4, then maybe rook fe1, and even e5 is an idea. And I played with black, and it was very tough to play with black. I lost completely convincingly, so I would have been very happy to get this with white. So queen c2 I still knew, since I had it with black, this position, and my opponent played this move against me. And he went bishop e4, and in the Bermuda Party he told me about this move c5, which during the game I actually wasn't sure what I would do here. And I told him I was mostly considering d takes c5, and then he was like, why didn't I play it then? Because bishop e4 here is apparently fine for black, this intermediate move. And then when the queen moves, let's say queen c1, then b takes c5, and I still thought that I would have some slight chances to be better here. Knight c3, and the knight will come to b5. But he said that this is more or less okay for black. The point is, why bishop e4 right away? Because if bc right away, then bishop f6, knight g5, takes bishop e7, and after rook a7, bishop drops back, let's say to f3, and then the knight will come to b5. So this pawn on a5 is actually a big weakness for black. If the pawn were on a6, it would probably be totally fine for black. But with the knight coming to b5, it looks like black is under some pressure here. So therefore, white should start with bishop f6, according to my opponent, and after bishop f6, now only to take, not to allow this bishop e4 stuff. And he said that black could sacrifice the pawn here with knight c6, because it looks like he will get some compensation, but still white is probably a little bit better here. So after some thinking, he went for bishop e4, since he was afraid that I would know this move order with bishop f6. I don't know if I would have figured it out during the game, and I guess we will never find out. But he went bishop e4, now queen d2, bishop e7, so he would be happy with the draw here if I would go back, but obviously having the white pieces in a team event, I have to try for something more. And now I went knight c3. Now I just want to tempo the queen is on d2, and this idea with knight e4, which is often black's point. Now the queen on d2 is actually very nicely placed, since after these exchanges now I get queen f4, and now he has to play d5. If I play something slow like rook d1, then d6, and these positions are very solid for black. He will play knight d7, and later on possibly c5, or also f5 is an idea sometimes, and yeah, this position would be just equal. But with queen f4, now I'm forcing him to go d5, since if the bishop goes back, I can simply take on c7. And now with d5, now we get this structure here, where the pawn on b6 is actually a big problem. If the pawn were on b7, then black could just play c6, and the pawn on b7 would protect this pawn. But here, the pawn on c7 is always a weakness. And if he doesn't get c5, it will stay like this for the rest of the game, which we also saw. And c5, I think during the game was very hard for him to achieve, since his development is still not fully there yet. So I went rook c1, pretty logical. Now rook a7, I was a bit surprised. I thought mostly about knight e6 when I wanted to go rook c6, not allowing c5, but maybe he had some tricks here. Also c5 right away was an option, but here I thought I could take and then go queen e5. When if he takes, then these pawns, these hanging pawns really start to become very weak. So I really liked my position here already. Rook a7, simply rook d1, preparing against c5. Now rook d8, and now simply e3. And here he played rook d6, e3. Here I spent some time. I was also considering moves like knight e5, but in the end I thought the pawn on e2 could hang at some point, so I just went e3, just that it's not hanging on e2 in any scenario. I went rook d6 with possible ideas rook f6. My queen is a bit vulnerable here, but after knight e5, now if rook f6, I can possibly go queen h4, pinning the rook and the queen, or queen g4, threatening some things with queen c8. So he just took on g2, king g2, and now he went for f6, arguing that the rook on d6 is not bad because later on he will play c6, and from there the rook will protect the pawn there. But knight d3, and I have like a long-lasting advantage here as white. Knight c6 now, queen f3. I thought he could have gone queen e4 and go for his endgame. By the way, it's not clear that I have to take, but even this would probably be slightly better for me. But this seems like maybe the right way for him. I can still play for something here, like with g4, just gaining space on the king side. It still looks pretty unpleasant for black. But he went knight c6. And his idea was simply to put the knight on e7 and then hold everything together with c6. But it is very passive, and I do also have my own plans to break his fortress. I went h4, I think pretty instructive moment, just gaining space on the king side. I also want to go h5 to clamp down black's pawns here. So knight e7 was played, rook c3. I'm doubling my rooks on the c file. Rook a8. And now h5, as I said, and I want to install this knight on f4 as well, not allowing any possible g5 stuff. So this pawn on h5 is quite is quite useful. Also, I have some h6 ideas in some cases, especially if the pawn on f6 is not protected by the rook. Then h6 would cause a lot of trouble. Yeah, rook e8 was played. Now rook b3. I was a bit low on time, so I kind of moved around here a bit, since anyway the position is good, and it doesn't really matter if I wait around for some moves. Anyway, black cannot do anything substantial. So yeah, here then the thing happened, queen d1, and here I decided to bring my queen around, and my plan was, first of all, I can cause some troubles with the pawn on b6, with queen b3. And the other plan was, as happened in the game, queen c2, and then to go for this plan a3 b4, as typical minority attack. And yeah, then later on a3 b4, and then b5 is also a major threat, opening up the c file. He went rook c8, now I repeated once, and here again he repeated, possibly thinking that I would go for a draw, but he should have gone knight e7. Then my plan, as happened in the game, with a3 and b4, he will get a better version, as we see now, for example, knight e7, if now a3, I thought he could go something like rook a8, when after b4 takes b5, at least he has control of the a file, and I'm not sure if I'm that much better here anymore. So I would have had to, I guess, wait around a bit more, prepare this a3 b4 push. But he went rook c8, and now I seized the opportunity, and I went a3, knight e7, and now b4. He has to take, and now since I'm threatening b5, he goes b5 himself. Rook a3, and I'm taking control of the a file, and this position is just super dominating for me. Even objectively, it's like almost winning, probably already winning, but I'm still not up any material, so it was not entirely easy to find the knockout blow. He brought his king to f7 to support the knight on e7, now rook a7. By the way, the computer here said h6, which I still don't understand. After g5, knight e6, and knight could possibly jump to g7 or to c5. But I wanted to play it pretty safe, since also board 3 was looking very good for us, and didn't want to risk too much. And here the pawn on h6 could also become a weakness in some cases. So queen c5, king f7, now rook a7. He took, now queen takes a7. If rook a7, he can play rook a8, and he can just chase my rook. And if I take, I'm not sure I have anything much anymore, since the queen can always be kicked out with knight f5. I'm still better for sure here, but yeah, now I don't have any more heavy pieces to target the pawn on c6. So I took with the queen not to allow rook a8, now queen d8, rook a6, and queen c7, now queen c5, queen d7, I repeated once. And here there was actually a nice moment. I took on c7, which is also a good move, but queen a5 was a very pretty idea, which I didn't see in the game. The point is, if he takes now, I can take with the b pawn, and this pawn will be super strong, very fast, rook a7, rook b7 possibly, and then the pawn will just run. And otherwise, I'm preparing rook a7 on the next move, just seizing control of the 7th file. So I totally missed this idea. Would have been very nice. Objectively, it's similar to queen c7. Maybe queen a5 would have posed more problems. But I took, and now I went rook a8, which is the really inaccuracy. I should have gone g4 right away. What I didn't understand during the game is that if he plays g5, I actually shouldn't take here, but instead I should go knight d3, just keeping these pawns on the board. And with g4, I'm kind of already, I would have seized some space here on the king side, so this would have helped in this scenario. But I went rook a8, and now he played g5, and now knight d3. Here, I think he could go g4, so that was the reason why I should have gone g4 right away. hg, now I have to take, and now it was already not so much for me. Still, I'm better here, but again, I was playing it super safe, because still board 3 was looking pretty good. And we would have won the match if board 3 would have won as well. And yeah, in this position now king g3 and now g5, and I have to go at some point for this f3 e4 push. Maybe right away is the time to go f3. Let me see. Yeah, f3 is one idea, but now f5 is there. So it's not easy already. I went rook a8, king g6, king g2. Ancient says king f3 is better, but king g2, I think this was fine. Rook b7, I repeated once, and now king f3. Yeah, I still don't know. Yeah, f3 probably always f5 is possible. I didn't see how to make this e4 push work. It was not easy here already, and yeah, here king d3 was kind of like the. I guess this already gave the advantage fully up, since now he got f5. And after this exchange, now king e2, intending king f3, king g4, but he played g4. And after knight d3, I offered a draw because he can play g3. And after takes, now the material is just level, and he will protect the pawn on c6 with knight e7, and there is just nothing here anymore. So yeah, in this endgame, I also could have tried a bit more, but the game was already going on for 5 hours. I was very low on the clock, so I did not want to risk anything at all, because losing the match would be just absolutely horrific. So a bit of a disappointing result. I think I played a very, very nice game overall. Just handling this pawn structure, I think this h4, h5 was quite instructive, and then simply slowly improving the position, bringing the queen to c2, and then a3, b4. I think that was all really good. It was just that this position here, I think that this moment here, queen a5 would have been very nice. Otherwise, takes, and g4. I simply did not understand this, that knight d3 is so good. And these pawns still being on the board, I can possibly also target this pawn on h7. That might also be a reason. And if f5, the computer says king h3, I guess king g3 is also the same. And yeah, something like this. Now my king is also in the game, f3, and e4 comes, computer gives already +2 here. So yeah, as I said, pretty disappointing, but 2-2 against Poland is still a great result. And as a reward for this, we will play against Norway tomorrow, so Magnus Carlsen's team, which is also a very nice opportunity. So I hope you enjoyed today's recap. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.